The link is in the video description. We would love to have your support so that we can continue building cool PCs and giving them away. Alrighty, so the very first thing that we're gonna want to do for used hardware is to test it to make sure that it works. So our ye olde power supply box that our Corsair power supply came in, which is an EVGA box, will be our new motherboard stand. Perfect. We'll go ahead and pull this off. That was slick. And we'll seat the legendary 2080 into its slot. Just like so. Okay. And kind of push that forward so it kind of locks it in as if it was a case. Kind of like that. There you go. Okay. I think we're going to swap the AMD Wraith cooler for this Thermaltake just because its thermal mass looks like it's a little bit better. But we can actually test and see which one runs better and which one cools the CPU better. Wi-Fi card, I don't really see a need to test it. The power supply, we could kind of just test all this stuff at once. So we have the ketchup and mustard cables, which again, we're building a used system, so beggars can't really be choosers. We got this for a good price at $30. So as long as it works, it was a good deal. As long as it works. Is this SATA? No, that's PCIe. That's why you don't force the cables, and you should always read them. See, that says CPU. I should have read that first, but I didn't because I'm a dummy. No problem. Easy. All right. Then we're going to take our two PCIe. There's one. That's the by 8. And then we'll give it the 6. There we go. And we just need to make sure that this guy posts. In order to test a motherboard that's outside of a case, right, what we need to do is find the front panel connector. If you're looking at it, the top right 2 pins should be your power button. You'll know that they're the right ones because the standard is 5 pins on the bottom, 4 pins on the top. So when you see that layout and it says like front panel or panel 1 or something like that, you know that the top right 2 pins, the 2 on the right of the 4 stack, is what you need to short. So you're going to take something that's conductive and touch the 2 pins together. Okay. Now I need to figure out what I'm fucking doing wrong here. This is plugged in. This is on. 24 pins in. That's connected. That's all disgusting. I need to clean this entire thing. This is plugged in and on. I need to worry about a different panel. The correct one. What am I doing wrong here? Oh, I was just not shorting it correctly. I was missing because it was round and I was at a weird angle. There you go. That's how you do it. See, we're all human. I'm not even going to edit that out because it shows you that like you can make silly, simple mistakes. Hopefully this posts into BIOS. There you go. Beautiful. So that shows us that we have video output from our GPU. Our CPU is running. Cooler is running. Let's plug this in. I'm going to kind of step a little off camera here. All right, so we have our Ryzen 5 2600 6-core processor at 3.4 gigahertz, which is cool. We have a total of 16 gigabytes of RAM. It's clocked at 2133, which is pretty low. This is rated for 3200 megahertz. So first thing we'll probably do is go in here and we'll change the DRAM frequency to 3200. That'd be the first thing that I would do anytime that I was setting this up. Okay, let's look at some of this other stuff. All right, CPU temperature is sitting at 35 degrees Celsius. Let's see if it reboots with that minor change on the RAM. It shouldn't affect it at all. It's rated to run at 3200 megahertz. You should be able to turn it right to that rated speed without any issues. There you go. It booted up. It's showing at 3200 on the RAM, which is exactly what we were looking for. And when I'm building this, I'm going to double check which slots it wants populated first. Usually it's the alpha channel because we're on Bravo 2 and Alpha 2. So I want to see if it wants Alpha 1 and Bravo 1. But this is good news, right? Because that means all of the stuff that we paid for works. Power supply works, graphics card is working, everything else that came with the motherboard is working, and it's also the product that the guy said it was. So, that's good. Let's open the case and see what we're dealing with. So, it's reasonable to believe that somebody may have had this case when AM4 and the 2080 and all that had come out, and they just repurposed their old rig to this new stuff. So I want to kind of lean into the retro theme here, but still give good, powerful components. So I'm excited. This is actually a completely unused build. It's supposedly never been built in, and it's just sat in this box since 2007 when it was made. So we're going to open it up, and we're going to find out together if they lied. The guy seems super cool, so I don't think that he would have lied. Well, that's a good sign. The original owner's manual still in its bag. Okay. Let's flip this over. All right, so I'm going to keep these because this is how I'm going to ship it. That's why the box was so important. Oh, I hear things moving around inside the case that are in bags, so that's another good sign that it's never been built in. It still has the peel. Oh, man. Dude. This is legit. Okay, let's pull this off. I feel like I'm opening a time capsule. It's 2025, so 18 years. Plexiglass panel. That's how you know. Oh, look, it has a spot for a fan here. That's so sick. Okay. Let's take a look in here. Okay. So the case shipped with 2 front fans and 1 exhaust fan. So this will be perfect for this system. We have... Oh, I'm so sorry. A giant exhaust fan up here. This is awesome. Are these... This is great. So here's audio, USB. So these are front USBs. They're all Molex fans. So it's just gonna blast. So this is how they used to do it, you guys. PWM didn't used to be a thing, right? So you have low, medium, and high. A toggle switch. And the power is just Molex. That's awesome. Look at this. Cable tie. Power switch, reset switch. And there's our other dip switch. Here's more Molex for the fans. This is amazing. And then it came with all the original hardware, it looks like. Yes, it did. I do not know what this is. So if you know... Let me know in the comments, huh? It looks like this thing has literally never been opened, which is amazing. Now, obviously, I can't peel it. The new owner has to peel it. So we will do that a bit later. Okay, so I just want to highlight a couple things. First of all, look at that fan. As big as my hand. The other thing is look at these pastors. So from a time when water cooling was not very well matured, you could pass your tubes out to a different area that wasn't inside the PC. Oh man, it came with an IO shield standard. This is great. Front panel IO is looking steep. We have a reset switch, 3.5mm headphone and microphone jack. This is a connector I'm not familiar with. I'll have to look it up. And 2 USB, probably 2.0s. And then let's check the front. So that's what it looks like. And then, are these all just screwed in place? Oh, that's crazy. So you have thumb screws here for each one of these. Each individual one of these will come out. See, this is why I love old computer stuff. Like the way they used to do it. Now it's just make a fish bowl and throw a bunch of RGB fans in it. A lot of glass. All right. Boom. I'm so stoked for this. So stoked. I'm really going to have to play with it because I've never built in a PC case that's this old. So there may be some hiccups that we run into. So I'll show you how I overcome those. Next is the super ultra boring part. We need to clean all this because it's disgusting. All right, you guys. For cleaning, we're going to use some screwdrivers to take off the cooler. We have a stiff bristle brush. It's actually a drill brush, but I'm not going to use it on a drill, obviously. This is from one of those like keyboard cleaning brushes, whatever. And we just have a microfiber cloth, all right? So first thing, I'm going to get this cooler off. We're going to see how it goes. Not terribly impressed with this paste coverage. And then there's our back plate, so we're just going to set that off to the side. But you can see how filthy disgusting this board is. Let's pop these dims out because they're filthy as well. Oh, God. The worst part is I even thanked this guy for giving me the PC parts clean. It was dark when I received them and we were outside. You know, it's only been about 6-7 months since I've put my PC together. This is making me want to take mine apart and clean it because this is bad. Subscribe if you want me to take Taheen's PC apart and clean it, show you guys how filthy disgusting that thing is, because I bet it's bad. It's in my mouth. Okay, well the board is a lot cleaner now. It looks much, much better. So I want to point out a couple things here. So one, we have an M.2 slot right here, which is super great. We also have another M.2 slot, so this is good. And none on the back of the board. So we're going to populate this one, the M.2 Ultra, and this will be our boot drive. And then we'll use that spinning drive that I showed you guys earlier to be our mass storage. It's 1 terabyte. So they'll have 500 gigs for a boot drive and 1 terabyte of storage. So whoever wins this PC, get a list of recommended upgrades from me with the PC. An upgrade path that I would do if this was my own PC. That one wasn't bad. That one's disgusting. All right. Well, I mean, for the content, let's take it apart. All right, you guys. Here's the reveal. God. Oh. In all honesty, when you look at it like this, the thermal mass of this is going to be a lot. It's going to perform better than the stock Wraith cooler. So we're just going to put that in the trash where it belongs. I'm going to vacuum this card off camera. That's the only thing I can think to do. The blower doesn't look it doesn't look bad. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see inside there. But when I look through it, I don't see any clogged fins. I could see right through every fin. I just want to kind of so yeah, you guys can kind of see right in there. There's a ring of dust caked around the edge of the fan right here inside the shroud. So I'd like to get that cleaned up. There we go. Looks pretty good. Well, that sucks. That means we're going to have to clean the Wraith cooler because this doesn't have any mounting hardware and it doesn't line up directly with AM4. This is going to be terrible. Oh my God. Look at that. Look at that. That's disgusting. All of that is dust just from the cooler. Okay, this is all thermal paste. So we're just going to get all that off. Okay, so as far as reassembly goes, it's very simple. You're going to take your back plate. You're just going to line the holes up right there. so that each of those will pop through. So the AMD, I'm going to orient it up like that. That makes sense because this is going to be the back of the computer, so this will be the top. Makes sense? And we're going to put some thermal paste on this. Okay, looks like I am out of thermal paste. So this is Aeronaut. This is a step down from the Cryonaut that I was using. Let's try to get good coverage. We have some areas that have a little extra. We're just trying to put a nice flat film all over this CPU, because the last person who pasted this did not do a good job, so we are going to put this cooler back on and tighten this down. A2 and B2 slotted first, so these are keyed. They only go in one way. They're kind of hard to slot in, but you're basically just gonna make sure that it's keyed correctly, push until you have a click, and do the same thing over here. Just like that. Nice and simple. Okay, so last step, now that we've got this all clean, we need to install our new M.2. So this is a 512 gigabyte by Inland. I've never used this brand. This is a very basic drive. I got it for half off at Micro Center. It was normally $55, as you can see here, and I got it for $30. I mean, so it's not exactly half off, but close enough. So what we're gonna do, because this hardware, I don't have an M.2 screw, but I do have this spare toolless M.2 hardware that should work. Okay, so this is the hardware right here that we're replacing. So we're going to take this out, and then we're going to put this toolless M.2 hardware in. So this will work out for us really well. Oh, I know what I did. Timeout. Simple mistake. So these toolless M.2s are not designed to go on standoffs like this. That's my mistake. I got ahead of myself. I was excited to find a solution. But I'm not going to cut this out of the video because I'm not perfect, and nobody is. Everybody makes mistakes when they're building PCs. Well, everybody just makes mistakes plain, like, generally speaking. So I want you guys to see that it's okay to make mistakes, just fix them. Again, line up the M.2 here. Seated. So now the M.2 is in place. This is going to be everything that we need to do to this motherboard. We have RAM installed. We have our M.2 drive installed. Cooler is installed. We don't have anything else to install on the board outside of the case. We're going to put our Wi-Fi card and our GPU in on these PCIe lanes, and we will go from there. But those will be installed once it's inside of the case, because as you can see on the GPU, it has this bracket. So we're going to slot this inside, and this bracket will line up and seat on the supports for the case. So let's get this cleared off, and we'll reposition the camera so that you guys can watch me build inside the case. Actually, we'll probably just build inside the case flat, because that's how I typically do it. One second, I'm going to clean this up. Okay, so we've got the case up here for you guys to see inside of. So what I'm going to do is kind of look through this and try to figure out exactly what I need to be doing, because I haven't built in a case that has these features. This is a little bit older, so just going to kind of move this apart and see what I'm dealing with. So just going through the bags of hardware, and I found these. So we have 3 more standoffs. We will be hitting all of the available slots for this motherboard that are actually in the case itself. So 1 here, 1 here. We only need 2. So there's 1 and 2. And we'll line the board up. So you want to be careful when you're putting the motherboard in. because you don't want to set it onto the standoffs and then move it around a bunch because you'll scratch the traces. That will be bad. 8 standoffs, 8 screws. Be careful not to over torque these. Again, this is electronics, not automotive. So respect the torque. You don't want to over torque and turn righty-tighty into righty-loosey. That's a bad day. So in keeping with the theme of not editing out my mistakes, so I want you guys to look at this screw right here. See how the motherboard can shift underneath it? That's bad. And as you can see, the standoff stayed connected, so we're gonna have to get these apart and take these off. So after inspecting the threads, I don't see any damage inside, so I'm gonna reuse them. If you damage the threads on something, it's likely to cause stripping on any screws or hardware. So if you see damaged threads, don't reuse it. You'll just cause yourself a larger headache. Put the motherboard back in, making sure to line it up. That's how it's supposed to feel. There we go. Trust your gut. If it don't feel right, it's probably not. So that goes for building computers and personal relationships. So guys, I noticed a couple mismatched screws, and even though they threaded in just fine without issue, it bothers me that they're mismatched, and I take pride in my work, even if I'm giving it away. So we're gonna fix that. Okay, so next is gonna be plugging everything into the motherboard from the case. Now, normally, all of these Molex connectors would actually plug into these chassis fans, like down here, chassis fan 2 and 3, but they're Molex. So this is, like I said, it's a little bit of an old school build, but the things we do have to worry about are on this end. So first, I'm gonna do these 3. So it's a reset switch, a power switch, and the hard drive light. So it's actually labeled on this motherboard, which is really nice. If it's not labeled on the board itself, you can consult the motherboard manual. And if you're buying used, you can look up motherboard manuals online. So power switch is going to be this one. Hard drive is this one. And the reset switch is this one. That's your front panel connector, done and dusted. So next, we're going to take our 2 USBs. Pretty easy to see here, but you notice they're keyed. So that white block is a stop. There's no pin going to be allowed to go through there. If you look carefully, these are missing a pin in the bottom corner. So that's how you can get these to line up in here. Simply match the white block with the missing pin. And it's that simple for all USB cabling that you need to. All right, so next is going to be the HD audio. So this is for the 3.5mm jacks up front for the microphone and the headphones. So right down here in this corner, you can see HD audio 1. It is also keyed by not allowing a pin to go through. So you just do the same thing that you did with the USBs. Right there, HD audio 1. Now, I'm going to try to cable manage this as best as I can. We're going to play with this a little bit, but for now, I think this is a good temporary location. So I was going to explore this off camera real quick. because I'm worried I'm making the video boring. But again, in the interest of who this video is made for, it's for people who are scared to build PCs. So I want to show you, when I don't know something, how I go about it. I'm trying to get this drive bay to slide out. Oh, I know what I should do. Let's check the other side, see if there's screws. Who'd have thunk? Screws on this side. There you go. So this bay is designed for 3.5-inch drives. So what I'm gonna do is put a 3.5-inch drive, or excuse me, a 2.5-inch drive in the same slot, but we're gonna only bolt it down on one side. Is this the best thing to do? No, but again, when you're working with used hardware, when you're only working with what you got, sometimes you gotta make it work. So we're gonna do that. So what I'm seeing here is these long tubes right here that I'm presuming these long screws are supposed to go through. And none of them match the thread pitch that I need for this drive. As you can see, all I have is this tiny little screw. So we're gonna slide the cage back in, remount it. I'm betting I can mount it right here. Just like that. There you go. And there's that. That hard drive ain't going anywhere. Fuck. These are taking forever. I'm tired of this.
But Saltie, there's supposed to be thumb screws. You're supposed to take them out by hand. If you use the drill, no one's going to be able to take them out by hand.
Well, I couldn't take the first ones out by hand, so deal with it. Alrighty, next piece to install is going to be our power supply. Now, normally I would say install fan side down, but if you can see, this is a solid basement. So we're going to install fan side up, like that. All right. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, I'm really worried about this because I've never put an older case like this together. So I hope this fits. Just gonna give that tab a little persuasion. That was all we needed. So in my experience, these screws, the hexagon ones, are the ones you use for your power supply. So I realize you guys probably couldn't get a good orientation, but you can see these little notches are available for the power supplies. So you just need all 4 bolts, the holes to line up in some of these notches, and that's how you know you have it in the right spot. So there you go. Okay, so power supply's in now. We've got spaghetti monster to deal with. Now, before anyone asks me about the ketchup and mustard cables, this was a $30 power supply at 600 watts. So this is good for what we're using it for. We are going to cable manage this the absolute best that we can. But because it's not modular, which means that the cables are all plugged into the power supply, I can't unplug any from here, we're going to have some extra. So we'll do our best, and I'll show you kind of the way that I go about this. So what I do is I separate the cables kind of one by one, get them out of the way and out of the case in order of importance. So this is a good point, okay? See how they're labeled? So this is CPU. So this is gonna go, that's right, for the CPU right here, okay? Don't get it confused with PCIe, okay? And most importantly, do not force these cables. You will break something. They should click in with relative ease. So our CPU connector is going to go right here into the motherboard. See how easy that was? That's how the cable should plug in, regardless of what it's for. I don't know what this is. I wish I could just get rid of it. So what I was thinking is I could kind of use these pass-throughs to hide the cables, but I think the cables are too thick and they're going to foul on the back panel. So we will not be doing that. This cable run is not great. I'm not terribly pleased with it, but we're doing what we can, I suppose. So next is going to be this. So the big hog 24 pin drops right there. Nice solid click, so we know we're good. Try to manage these. Again, we just want these out of the way of this airflow. That's what's really important, like the cable mess. Supposedly, I've seen testing that shows that that doesn't really affect it, but I still like to make it look neat and clean as best as I possibly can. Okay, so the first thing we're going to install is this wireless card. So this is not a wireless motherboard. I think this is an added feature that people will need because not everybody has a Ethernet wired connection. So as you can see by this little tiny PCIe slot, this is where this is going to go. And you can see how it lines up with this slot right here. So we're going to take this out. So the way that these covers work is they screw in on one side and they have this tab on the other. So you have to unscrew them, shift them, and pull straight up. Take this guy, drop it right in the slot, just like that. And then you can see here, that screw lines up. So we will just put it back. Okay, so the front of this case has two cables, right? These two run up to the front. This has two wires running off of it, as you can see here. This only has one. So this, I guarantee you, powers that weird switch that we saw earlier. So what I'm going to do is take this out. This is a USB plug for the Wi-Fi adapter. So we're going to populate this slot with it. Because we only have two, and whatever weird connector this is, we're not using. But we will use Wi-Fi. I'm thinking that I'm going to be able to go down underneath the GPU and right here underneath, just like that. I don't think that we're going to foul onto anything, so that's how we're going to run it to hide the cable as best as we can. Next is the powerhouse. The whole reason we're building this. It's going to be a tight fit. We might have to remove that. Okay. So we're fouling just a little bit on this, which is frustrating. So we will have to figure out if we can remove this. All right, I'm just going to cut this out because you guys don't need to see this, and I feel like this video might get boring already. All right, let's try this again. 2080. You want to make sure you line up the PCIe slot. You should hear that nice click in place, and then you're just going to put these screws back in. Sometimes they might need a little bit of persuasion. As you can see here, all I'm doing is putting a little bit of pressure on the GPU so that way it lines up these holes over here. Now we need to set these up. So these are called PCIe, all right? You can see it's labeled right there. You can see this weird little pigtail. So if we look back down here, this has a blank spot right here. So this pigtail doesn't go in there, okay? That's all that is. The other thing that's important to note about these connectors is they have these little teeth. So see how they line up and they sit in place like that? That's important because that's how they clip in. Okay? That little tab allows this side to push against the little tab and keep it seated. And for this one, we're just going to pull up the extra little tab and seat it just like that. We're just going to pull these slack down right here and just kind of tuck all of this stuff down into the basement where it will live happily ever after. Next set of cables is going to be this SATA power. It's going to go into our drive, which is up here. Let me see if I can get an angle for you guys to be able to see that. So there's the drive. And you should see this nice little L key right here is going to match up with that one. There you go, just like that. Okay, and now for the nightmare, Molex. So we have to plug in 4 fans with 4 Molex connectors that are only 4 inches apart. Let's go in here and get all these Molex connectors ready. So Molex is old school, but in case you run into it, you can see it's keyed. So this is how it goes. Plug that one in. I'm going to do more cable management off camera, but for now we're gonna do testing and see how this goes. And then there's one more cable we need for this drive. I'm gonna go see if I have one. So this is a SATA cable, okay? So it's right here underneath the GPU. So cable length is good. You can see it's gonna go up to here, to that drive, and then into that space down there. There you go, right there. That's the SATA, it just plugs right in. It's keyed, it can only go one way, right there. So you guys can see it has the same L-shaped key, just like the SATA power. It's just smaller, so just like that. Okay, so since this is an older system, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run through, I'm gonna switch all these dip switches for the fans to high, because I care about performance, not noise. All right, that's fan speed set. So now the build is complete. All right, so I've committed one cardinal sin, and I'm going to commit another sin. I wanted to leave the peel for the new owner, but there's actually an intake fan right here. So, sorry, new owner. This whole side panel is vented, and I was able to find a fan that fits right here. I think it's perfect. Draws fresh air. We should have this big giant exhaust fan here and an exhaust fan on the back and two intakes right on the front. So this should cool the PC very well. And if you're new to PC building, the reason why the front panel being closed right now is a cardinal sin is we haven't tested the PC. So you just don't do that. It's illegal. You don't put the front panel on before you've tested the PC. It's bad juju. It means it's not going to turn on. So I'm going to prove that to you because it won't turn on the first time I try. Here we go. I am nervous. The $375 PC. Even with the bad front panel juju, this is exhaust. That's actually intake. That's crazy. Okay, so we have a single exhaust. So very positive pressure case setup. Ugh. We have a post. We have a post. Come on, do the things. This is how disgusting it is. It's gotten all over everything. Look at this. This is horrible. It's just moving the dust around. Ugh, it made it worse. Does the PC look good? I mean, I can't even tell. Oh, yeah, dude. Why is it in Spanish?
Espera. Necesitamos espera para la computadora. Ahorita.
Oh, it's because that dude didn't change his he didn't wipe his drive. Okay, so another issue with buying used hardware is somebody, this guy, decided to just sell us a drive with his data on it. So we're gonna do him a favor. I'm gonna wipe his drive. This is bad. Oh God. All right, I'm gonna turn this so I can actually read it and hide this dude's information. Okay, so, listen, if you guys are gonna sell old drives, they need to be wiped before you sell them. Because this guy's name is here, like, who knows what other information he left on this drive. So I'm going to completely clean this drive and reformat it and reinstall Windows onto the M.2 drive. Just boot to BIOS. To BIOS. I need the BIOS screen. Give me BIOS. I want the BIOS screen as rock label. Give me BIOS screen.
This doesn't meet the minimum requirements.
I hate this. I forgot, it's an AM4 system, so it's like, Windows 11 won't work on this? So, how about you die? Shit! Finally. So in the next video, we're gonna benchmark this PC and show you guys the true performance. Stay salty. Deuces!